If you think that Stoicism is about suppressing emotions, Marcus Aurelius would like to have a word with you. In fact, he says the exact opposite. A Stoic doesn't suppress his emotions. He masters them. So, what does this actually mean? Well, in this video, we're going to take a look at the life of a Stoic and how they handle their emotions through 3 key steps. And if you stick with me till the end, I will share with you my own personal example of how this has helped me deal with one of the most painful emotions of all, grief. So make sure you watch until then. And of course, subscribe for more videos like this. One of the most common misconceptions people have about Stoicism is that it's all about suppressing your emotions, about being unemotional, cold-hearted, unfeeling. And I get where it comes from. If you only know Stoicism through the memes, which are often about ignoring negative emotions, or through pop culture depictions of Stoic characters who seem almost robotic in their lack of emotions, it's easy to see Stoicism as a philosophy of becoming numb. But the reality is the opposite. As Marcus Aurelius says in Meditations, it is impossible for a man to learn that which he does not wish to learn. It's hard to master your emotions if you don't even acknowledge them. And the first step for any Stoic is recognizing our emotions, not suppressing them, but acknowledging them. Seneca said it this way: "He who is everywhere under the control of passion is not a master, he is a slave." In order to master our emotions, we must first be aware of them. We can't just pretend they don't exist or try to ignore them, because then they become stronger, more powerful over us. Instead, we must acknowledge them, look them in the eye, understand what they are, how they affect us, and then choose how to respond to them. This is what Epictetus meant when he said that some people are disturbed by external events while others aren't. It's not because the events don't cause disturbances. It's because the person isn't paying attention. You see, we often like to think of ourselves as these passive recipients of external events. But the reality is we are active participants in creating our own experiences. It's not what happens to us that causes disturbance. It's our interpretation of what happens. Our judgments about the situation that determine whether or not we are upset by it. As the Stoics say, it's not the event that upsets us, but our opinion of the event. That's why the first step towards mastering your emotions is to recognize them, become aware of them, and then take responsibility for them instead of acting like a victim of your circumstances. The second step a Stoic takes in mastering their emotions is what Marcus Aurelius calls premeditations. When we think about what might happen in the future, we are often filled with fear, anxiety, worry. Will it go well? Will I succeed? Or maybe we ruminate about past events. Did I do the right thing? Could I have done better? Both of these mental exercises can be extremely harmful. They cause us to dwell in a constant state of dissatisfaction and discontentment. But there is a way to harness these natural tendencies and turn them into a source of inner strength. Marcus Aurelius writes in Meditations that we should turn our thoughts about the future into acts of prevention. Instead of worrying about something that may happen, we can turn our minds to fixing it. For example, you're worried about giving a speech in front of a big audience. Instead of letting your mind run wild with all sorts of worst-case scenarios, you can use that energy to prepare for the speech. Practice, rehearse, write out your notes. By turning our thoughts into action, we transform our worries into something productive and empowering. In doing so, we also calm our minds and reduce our anxiety. You see, it's not that the Stoics reject negative emotions, but they understand where they come from and how to use them productively. They know that even our worst traits can be turned into strengths if we only know how. The third step to mastering your emotions, according to the Stoics, is what Epictetus calls negative visualization, or what I prefer to call premeditations. Simply put, this means imagining yourself in difficult situations and thinking about how you would respond. Now, I know this sounds kind of weird, maybe even counterintuitive. Like, why would you want to imagine yourself in a bad situation? But hear me out. By visualizing negative outcomes, we prepare ourselves mentally for when those situations actually arise. We take away much of the shock and surprise. And as we all know, the more prepared we are for something, the less scary it seems. There's this famous story about the Stoic king, King Antigonus, who was once sailing in a small boat with a large cargo of silver. Suddenly, a storm appeared out of nowhere and the sailors began to panic. But the king remained calm and collected, even though his cargo and possibly his life were at risk. Why? Because he had spent many hours visualizing potential problems and practicing how he would respond. So when the crisis hit, he was ready. He quickly made decisions and took actions that saved both himself and his crew. The same is true for us. By taking the time to visualize negative outcomes and rehearse our responses, we become better equipped to handle whatever life throws at us. And this gives us a sense of inner peace and tranquility. We know that no matter what happens, we will be able to respond with grace and dignity. So now you might be wondering, okay, great. I can see how this works. But what about emotions like grief? What do I do when I'm grieving someone I loved? The Stoics didn't believe in simply suppressing or ignoring our emotions. In fact, they understood that emotions like grief are a natural and necessary part of the human experience. They knew that trying to push these emotions away would only make them stronger and more painful. Instead, the Stoics believed that we should embrace our emotions and work through them. As Seneca said, "He who is slow to weep is slow to heal." To grieve is a natural response to loss. It's how we process the death of someone or something we love. And it's an important part of the healing process. When we try to suppress our grief, we're essentially trying to deny the natural order of things. We're trying to fight our way back to happiness before we've had a chance to come to terms with our loss. And this only makes the healing process longer and more painful. Instead, we should allow ourselves to feel the pain of our grief. We should cry. We should be angry. We should feel whatever emotions we need to feel in order to move through this process. And as we go through this process, we should also reach out for support. We should talk to friends and family. We should seek out therapy if necessary. We should do whatever we need to do to help ourselves heal. The Stoics knew that grief is a natural and necessary part of the human experience. They knew that trying to suppress our grief would only make it worse. Instead, they believed that we should embrace our grief and work through it with the support of others. As I said at the start, the Stoics believe that it's impossible for anyone to learn that which they do not wish to learn. So it's really up to each individual to decide whether or not they want to master their emotions. It's not always easy. In fact, sometimes it's downright difficult. But as the Stoics have taught us, it is possible. And the rewards are immeasurable. When we learn to master our emotions, we become more resilient in the face of adversity. We become more calm and centered no matter what is going on around us. We become more focused on what is in our control and less concerned with what is not. We become more free. I hope this video has been helpful. If it has, please let me know in the comments below. And remember, as Marcus Aurelius wrote, the happiness of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts. Thanks for watching.